this episode 69?
I think so. The famous number.
Welcome. The AC's blasting in the background, and there's no way I'm going to turn it off, but that's okay.
Please bear with us.
It's going to make noise, but it's 90 here, so it's just going to happen.
It's one of those things you just gotta live with it.
Yeah, hopefully it's not being picked up by the mic. I couldn't tell, but we'll just live with it. We're going to move on.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this whole Area 51 invasion? We stumbled upon an article, but I've been seeing stuff about this for probably a week and a half on Reddit. It's like the new thing. I guess there's a Facebook event, which is
Bunch of
driving all
memes
this.
about it.
So for anyone who hasn't, seen anything about this somehow, who just doesn't really, look on any sort of social media, Reddit, Twitter, there's some Facebook event someone started, I don't know who, to just storm Area 51. And
Look for aliens.
I don't know why. It's such a popular topic that no one has really... I mean, maybe people have made events for this in the past, but why it just caught on now all of a sudden? But there's 200,000 plus at the last time I checked.
Last I heard, there was like 400,000.
Okay. But in general, we were talking about this. I think we both agree. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, fuck no.
But it's such a ridiculous thought to think that no matter how many people you have, that you could just storm miles of desert towards a military base.
Look, my thing is, look, if people won't get involved or people are, but let's say on a scale like that, people won't get involved or protest actual shit happening. Who is gonna lay down their life to just get inside of Area 51? I feel like the people who are going, they'll walk there, take a couple of pictures for Instagram, if, the dozen people that go, and then once some sort of security guard comes on and says, hey, you guys can't take pictures here, they'll score them away. Be like, oh, I did it,
I think 98% of anyone who is accepting an event won't even go or plan to go, and I'm sure just out of the sheer number of people, and there's a lot of just people who are straight up crazy out there. Let's be honest here. There's a lot of people who are just crazy living amongst us who manage to just barely get by, who might be obsessed.
They're like, this is my time to shine.
Right, they're working out in the gym. They're like, I can't wait to storm the area.
They're getting prepared. They're getting fucking supplies. They're getting their fanny packs on.
So out of those 400,000, let's say these, 114 people actually show up.
Okay.
At the first sign of any sort of Humvee, soldiers with assault rifles, people are just going to lay on the ground and immediately surrender.
Oh, yeah. Out of those, let's say, 114, I guarantee you 100 of those people are, if not even 110, are just laying down right away.
Right.
The other 4, they're probably like, oh, we're fucking going in there. We're fucking meeting E.T. And then they get arrested.
Right. Or hopefully not, but could be shot. That's the thing is, you're putting anyone who is considering doing this, which, by the way, if you are, just don't. Just don't do it.
No.
Have you thought about that this week and you're somehow stumbling upon this podcast? I don't have a ton of wisdom at all at this age in life, but I do know you shouldn't storm...
I need government
51.
facility.
Yeah.
Especially a fucking, base.
Do you know what I think the silliest part of the whole
thing is?
This
This isn't GTA.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't that in,
And even then you get fucking 5 stars for doing it.
Like in San Andreas when you go get the jetpack, when you go break into the military base?
I never got that far.
Oh, yeah, towards the end of the game. But anyway, so the silly part about the whole idea of storming this, base Area 51 is, to discover aliens, quote unquote. But I think you're basically putting your life on the line of however these guards are feeling this day, because in reality, I think it's just a military base where they might have secretive plane projects, and there's been other people who have confirmed this who have worked there. They just don't make these documentaries because people don't want to hear just the truth.
If there is some sort of actual alien intelligence that we have found, discovered, dug up, crashed, whatever, it's not going to be at the place where everyone thinks it is. Just
to show the level of delusion that you're going to find something, what do you think you would actually see, if you're one of these people and you storm the base? Because you think about
besides the barrel of a gun, probably not much.
Right. So say there's no even armed guards there and they show up, maybe they somehow there's a window where the guards are gone, they find out for 15 minutes.
Right.
That'd be like breaking into an office for the most part. What do you think? They just have like the main atrium that has a UFO sitting there? I mean, even if they did have something, it's probably 8 levels down with additional like ID cards and retinal scanners. Why do they think it would just be like in a hangar?
Yeah, like, oh, they're just gonna walk in, open up the fucking office closet, and be like, oh, alien, like, no, they got, like you said, they got that shit like miles deep underground with like, if there was anything in there with like concrete and fucking, like poisonous frogs, like they got shit all over the place to protect that,
Right. They got birds that blow up. They're just drones that explode.
Mike fucking Tyson setting out like messenger birds to like fucking make everything all cool, but
right, like Kevin, you heard birds are fake, man. They're just CIA drones, pigeons that fly around and they spy on you.
That's so stupid.
I know. Literally, because you shouldn't do this, but obviously people have dissected them. I mean,
where's the camera?
Right,
like, where's the microphone?
It's just an animal. I mean, if you really wanted to prove it, you could find a dead one who had passed away naturally. Like, there's no camera system or battery pack inside.
That's not to say that governments have not used or attempted to use animals for any sort of like government like activities. Like, didn't we hear recently about some sort of like trained whale from Russia that ended up in like fucking Sweden or something?
Yep.
That like.
Well, this goes back a long time. Governments trying to figure out how to, control birds, rabbits, to carry mines, dogs. To sniff out things.
And if you think about it, like messenger birds, that was around for those have been used for like forever. I still don't fucking stand how that was even work, because who's to say that you put a message on like fucking Game of Thrones, you put a message on a bird, the thing doesn't just fly away and get chopped up by some, well, I guess there are no planes, but like.
Yeah,
or just dies.
That's what I want to know. Like,
you have to send like 12 fucking birds out to hope that your message gets across.
Right. What's the delivery success rate on pigeon flight? Messages.
I feel like it can't be that high. There's so many factors that would prevent. Like, what if the bird has to shit? What if the bird is hungry? Like, it gets eaten by a bigger bird, like a pterodactyl or some shit.
Right. Like, so this is obviously a show, but in something like Game of Thrones, where they basically so many important messages throughout the series, they arrived. Well, obviously, ridiculously fast, unrealistically.
Right.
But even the fact that they had basically 100% delivery rate. Like, what if a random hawk or falcon just fucked up your pigeon, and then your message never reaches? I mean, that seems very likely, but that has never happened in any sort of TV show, book, movie.
Look, the way I think the most like. Let's say if someone's going to do that, I feel like the best way to do that would be to send multiple ones just in case. But here's the thing. Let's say there's some sort of message that a country's about to go back thousands of years where they're really using that. Country's about to invade, and you want to send out a message to get help or something. Who's not to say that, let's say you send out 12 birds, that one of those birds goes to the wrong place and gives the message to the wrong person, and then now your plans are fucking spoiled. Like, that secret message, everyone knows it now.
Right, so like the modern day equivalent would be people have some sort of camera drone and they're filming something and someone shoots it down with a BB gun.
Or fucking hitting, instead of just reply on Outlook, reply all. Everyone knows your message, like...
Right, like, you're trying to tell me that never a pigeon, say, carrying a message will just randomly get jacked by some creature, and then that message drops to the ground and some person catches it before it reaches the royal palace.
In 2019, in all of human history, while we were sending bird messages, that has to have happened at least a greater number than 0 times.
It has to be. I'm thinking more like a 25% fail rate. They just shoot it in any sort of entertainment. Because in Game of Thrones, that shit's like iMessage. They get a delivery notice too. The bird takes back
delivered, an email notification.
Birds are bringing back a card that just says delivered on it, just for the person who sent the message.
Like, the fucking bird takes the signature, takes a fucking picture of it, like fucking Amazon drop off.
Right. Exactly.
It got there. My hands are washed now.
The freaking pigeon comes back with a Polaroid, and it was just in Sharpie, this was left outside your door.
But no, there had to have been a huge amount of failure. I feel like anything involving just an animal, because you can't look as smart or as efficient whereas a bird message may be. Or look at it this way, you know how some primates gorillas can learn sign language.
Yeah, like Coco.
Yeah, they can.
Rest in peace. Shout out to Coco, my favorite gorilla.
apart from Harambe, like
Yeah, you know what? Harambe's number two, but he was more of a pop culture phenomenon.
yeah, but Coco, like
I was already into Coco. You know what I mean? Like,
didn't Coco have a thing with like Steve Irwin too?
yeah, I think she appeared. It was a female Coco on Steve Irwin's show once or twice. But I had watched some documentary with I think Jane Goodall, or some other ape researcher possibly, but I think it was Jane. And it was just showing basically Coco communicating in sign language back and forth, and it was very basic English, almost like talking to a toddler. But
Oh, yeah.
it was definitely it could answer questions, it wanted things, but the only thing is it never asked about its own existence.
Exactly.
That's
Like
the sentience.
it didn't have that extra layer of like consciousness where it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously it can kind of communicate basic things like food I want, or like bathroom, but like
Right.
or like high stuff like that. But in terms of like, yeah, you know what? I don't think that Coco was ever saying, you know what? I feel like next week I want to do this, and I have aspirations to go back. No, I don't think that
It seems
animals
like-
can get that deep.
It seems.
But then again, I mean, like, I don't know enough about like animal consciousness to where I feel like most people can't comprehend the level of consciousness that some sort of animal may have at this point, because everything's obviously conscious and has their own like built-in environmental what do I want to describe this as, like its own environmental
adaptation,
push to like
yeah.
survive and do all that stuff.
Right. So there's obviously there's the
It doesn't have that
conscious
deeper
part,
layer.
but then there's the genetic part that gets passed on over time. Things slowly change, like fur or like thickness of skin, eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, like you said, the conscious. Like what am I thinking? Like, am I self-aware of my existence, or do I just do things like feed?
That's
search?
it, yeah. Because like you look at like an ant, it obviously, like when we look at an ant, it's almost complicated too. It's like, okay, ants will instinctively just build nests and protect the queen and shit like that. But do ants say, you know what? I wonder how Bob's doing, this afternoon. Like,
Right.
what is he like? I don't think that.
It's just
Well-
a different way of thinking, right? So think about how many levels. I was just thinking about drug dogs a second ago.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about how smart animals can be, but still not be, that we know of, 100% self-aware maybe of their own existence. So
Right.
think about how many levels are involved of thinking for a drug sniffer dog at an airport to know like what certain actions to do, and also like to sniff certain smells out of the air, and
Mm-hmm.
not to just charge them or try to get
Ignore
whatever.
food.
Like there's so many. Yeah, it's like if I do this and point this person out and wait, then I'll get that treat. So it's not just a simple like if I step on this blue pad, I get a treat.
Like I guarantee you, like for example, you mentioned drug sniffing dogs. Like I guarantee. So like
Or military, like searching out mines and shit. I mean, some of those dogs they do amazing things, but it's like we don't really understand their level of what they're thinking about themselves.
the dogs themselves, like they probably don't even I don't think they have any concept of what a drug is. Obviously, they're just trained to know, hey, this smell, I'm supposed to bark. You
Right,
know,
they obviously probably don't know what a drug is, like especially by the word. I mean, they might be taught, what cocaine is. They search for a certain smell just by, just reinforcement. Like they like give it to them, they say cocaine out loud. Like they know what to
Right.
search for. But overall, I just mean like I don't think the dog ever spaces out necessarily and thinks, like, wow, I'm a dog just sniffing drugs for treats all day. It's that sort of just breaking the fourth wall of yourself.
and plus, like for example, like let's say there was like a human drug sniffing, like creature, whatever. Ignore the weirdness of that, but
That's another thing why they're so amazing is we don't have that because we can't.
a human, let's say, because a human in 2019, they may say they may be able to consciously know, okay, the person who like wears this or does this specific function, like let's say they limp or do something stupid like that, they may have drugs like shoved up their ass. Whereas like a dog, they won't consider that. All they're about is just the smell.
Right.
So they may not have that extra layer of outside surrounding of, hey, beyond the smell. It's like the cues behind that. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's hard for obvious shit, but it's like you can cover up smells for the most part.
Right.
So, like a dog, I don't think they would be able to see like other cues, like how nervous someone is, or like their gait, or like weird things like that. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's not to say that drug dogs aren't like. Oh, I've actually heard that like drug sniffing dogs, they aren't as efficient as people would like to think they are.
So let's talk about emotion versus sort of decision making, right? And consciousness. They're all they're separate, I think, in a way, because you can have reinforced learning, like I jump on pad, pull this lever,
X equals Y, like.
right, and that can get complicated maybe in a few levels. But then, say with cases like Coco, or like we know as animal lovers slash pet owners, that animals 100% of emotions. You can hurt the feelings of a cat, a dog, even by not doing something major. You can just see it on their face.
100%.
But that doesn't, just like with Coco, like, Coco would say, I'm feeling sad or hungry. But emotions are often tied to consciousness, like, love is like, this is what life is. But true answer is we don't really know.
Yeah.
It's some mix of all that, some magic combo of, being aware of ourselves, making decisions, taking in information. It's hard to really say what is different with us compared to every other animal out there.
I wonder if we'll get to a point, because on the technological side, like, we're going to do, assuming no outside factors stop us from doing this, but humans in general, we like new shit. We like to improve things. We like to make new technology.
Right.
So who's to say that at one point...
We love shiny shit.
Yeah. So who's to say at some point in the future, I don't know if that's 100 years, 1,000 years, 200,000 years go on, where we'll be able to basically tap into the consciousness, whatever that consciousness may look like, but we'll be able to tap into the consciousness of something other than a human, and kind of understand, because we're getting to the point where let's say on the human side, we can put people in different brain imaging units, and they'll give them certain stimuli, like a picture of food or a picture of someone they love, or something funny, scary, you name it, and the brain will react in a certain way to those images.
Yeah, you get certain signals, certain electrical impulses.
So it's like if you show someone something scary, like this part of the brain lights up, or something where they love, this part of the brain lights up. Whereas I feel like we're gonna do nothing but improve on that. Yeah. So who's to say that in like 1,000, or you insert the amount of time, years,
right,
that we're not going to be able to put that on an animal and be able to see like what their deep emotional feelings are on which topic. Because I feel like I heard actually it's still in its like basic stages, but we're getting better for humans on understanding dreams. Like in terms of like if you and like recording dreams and people's thoughts into like a picture or a video. I feel like
it starts to look at like computers the more you break it down, because our body is almost like our mind's an operating system, our body's the hardware, and we have all these different systems running. It's almost like a computer with antivirus and all these sort of maintenance programs, health, and for us it's oxygen, but our understanding of the brain is probably the least understood part of the body when it comes to what's actually going on in there, because it's this strange blob of cells and electrical signals, and like you said, we're getting better at mapping it, but the brain is very much a black box system at the moment, in terms of, we know that you can basically, almost like training a universal remote, they have these helmets that can read these brain signals, or you can put diodes on. But you can think left, or think a certain thought, and you can basically read those signals, and you can map that into, say, moving a drone left. But we don't know anything going on for the most part in between the input and output. Right,
because like for example, we're getting pretty good. It's not to the level of like The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, where how I feel like at this point, like especially if you're a Star Wars fan, you should just know this. Once Luke got his hand cut off and he got that like bionic hand put on, and he was just like thinking, I gotta move my fingers this way.
Right.
We're getting better at creating prosthetics for people today, where they can actually grip stuff and kind of move fingers along. Something like that. That's always going to improve. But just like you said, that's not something where it's like the technology can process like how they're feeling. It's just, and to this day, I mean, I don't understand because I mean, I'm not in it. I don't understand how. I think it's beautiful. It's cool. I don't know how technological wise they're able to say, okay, the brain is saying give someone the middle finger, and the prosthetic will do that. I think that's cool as fuck.
That's sort of what I was just saying. So it's like we're reverse engineering a machine, and that machine is a biological one of the human body. So we don't really know how memory works, but in a computer we know there's caches, and
Right.
we have all these set, basically known patterns in memory, and we know how to basically create instructions for a computer. They can create all these different hardware components. So what we're doing at the current moment is we're basically just throwing stuff at the wall in the way that, we're trying to decide, what does this thing do? And it basically, like in a brain surgery, if they poke a certain area, your arm might lift up,
Yup.
or you might say something weird. So these are all similar to, like, if you didn't know, like an add function, just the thought of math.
Right.
It'd be like trying to figure out, like, how exactly does this add function work on a CPU, down at the actual processor level, not at, like, in Windows. I'm talking like how the computer actually takes things in, because it's simple signals in a way.
X equals Y, like you put in this input and you get this output.
Right. So it's like with memory, if you think of dreams are a program that runs every night that writes things and possibly reads things from our memory, but we have no idea how the memory system works. We have no idea how to pull memories. We don't know if you can cache memories. So I feel
like it's definitely possible for us to cache memory.
Definitely, because certain things that are,
because we can remember stuff, like
Right.
that's the whole point. It's like if we can remember, event X, I feel like that has to be stored in some sort of way.
It's different than anything we know now, which is why it throws us off. Because so on a computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you open a file without even any software involved, just by that being something you pulled from the memory, it will be in a memory cache. So if you open that same exact file, it'll be a lot faster from the memory to pull it up from your hard drive, because it'll be in a smaller memory chip that's way faster than your main storage.
Is it like basically
It's a cache.
a solid state drive versus like a regular hard drive? You can pull it faster.
So on a computer, on a modern one, you have something like you have like L1, L2 cache. They're like small little bits of memory that sound insignificant compared to terabytes or gigabytes on your hard drive. But it's basically to store locations, and it's different in every system.
Information, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way it sounds like it's just information to help pull other information. It's like
It's a recency thing. So say you open file A is already loaded into the cache, and then if you go to load file B,
it loads it faster.
If you load file B and it's not there, it has to go maybe replace file A with the latest thing in the cache after it pulls it up. But then if you load that same file, it'll be way faster than the original time.
Okay.
But what we don't know is why, say, you can remember something perfectly from when you're 13, but in recency wise, you won't remember that code someone just gave you 25 minutes ago to get into a gate, for your Airbnb. So we don't work the same as computers. That's the thing we're trying to basically figure out, is how does this whole thinking thing and memory thing, dreaming, work together?
Because I mean, anyone listening, you know that it's like there are certain events that can happen in your life that are bigger than other moments that leave a lasting impression. Like, let's say the first time you bang someone, or the first time you eat a certain food, or the first time you go to a certain place. There are certain,
maybe at the best tacos of your life on vacation. That'll probably stick out. You'll probably think about that a lot. Tell people, like, I had these tacos, one time in Florida. It just pops into your head all the time.
But in terms of like how it's stored, why are memories that have a bigger input on, let's say, your life in general? Like, let's say you never travel anywhere in your life, and one day when you're like 35, you travel to, like, I don't know, like Africa or something. That's going to be in your memory a lot longer than, hey, what did I eat for breakfast like last Tuesday?
Right.
So what's the difference? What is the difference between like that memory and that memory?
I think this is just throwing it out there. Obviously, this is based on zero science, but just thinking about the way humans operate and looking at friends and, listening to them say like, I forgot this, thing that is important business wise in their life possibly, but I know they probably don't really care about. I think it's more of a like whatever's important to you is the ranking, not necessarily recency like a computer, so maybe you just met someone, but in the back of your head that you're probably not really going to become friends with that person. So you might already forget their name in 10 minutes.
I do that with my fucking neighbors. Like,
right. Like, I think it's almost seems to be ranked on level of importance in your life. So, like, if it's something that really made you happy, but even if it happened 5 years ago, it might pop into your thoughts semi-regularly and seem pretty clear. But, like, small things that pop up that, you might have to do, which is why people miss, like, oh shit, I forgot to pay that bill, because it's not a memorable moment. So people ask, like, why did I forget it? It's not that you're necessarily 100% unorganized. I mean, you should set alarms, reminders. It's other things in your mind are just pushing it out of the way. Because,
like, look, think of it this way. Like, let's say, like, you've got bills that you need to pay that aren't automated at certain times or whatever. Let's say you have that going on, but your, let's say, uncle also got into a car accident. Like, you're going to be thinking about that versus paying the bills at any given time. So it's a lot easier to kind of, like, store that memory versus, like, oh, yeah, I need to pay, like, my, like, water bill, in 2 weeks.
Bills are such a pain in the ass. It's just the whole, like, keeping up, like, oh, shit, this is due. I got to go on there and click on this site.
I try to keep my shit as automated as possible, but, like, there's one thing, like, the car that I have, I got to make, like, payments on that, and when I had my last lease, everything was automated. But for some reason, when I tried to set up the automation for this car, it didn't, like, work, so I kind of just, I said, fuck it, I was lazy. I didn't feel like setting it up, but I've missed like a payment. I paid it maybe like a week or so like late, but when shit isn't automated for me, it's really hard for me to remember like bills. Like I can remember like other stuff, like obvious stuff, like okay, go deep. Like every morning, I know to shower, I know to brush my teeth, shit like that. Whereas like, hey, I got to pay my car payment on the 20 something of every month. I'll fucking forget that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm good with the daily stuff for the most part. I never miss a shower.
Or DO.
I mean, yeah, maybe occasionally I'll forget to put on DO one day. I go home on lunch or something from work, throw some on. But like you said, this is the daily stuff. I know I need to, say, unload the dishwasher, feed my cat, take a shower. But I'll get so into my own head on, like, maybe something I'm working towards or an idea. I'll almost forget, like, shit, I didn't pay my, like, rent. I didn't pay that. And I'll catch it, like, the day of. I'm not really late on things, but I will catch it the day before, the day of, and it wasn't even in my head at all. So it's very plausible I'd miss some of those things if I didn't set reminders, which I do very often.
I'll set reminders for the silliest things. Like,
Say, my to-do list is embarrassing as well, I guess, in depending on your opinion, because it has so many mundane things in it that some people might be like, why do you write that in a list? But for me, it works. That's the most important thing with productivity and self-improvement, I think, is do what works for you.
So I don't remember when I set this, but I obviously did at some point. But I'm really good, usually pretty good at making sure my fingernails are clipped.
Yeah.
But at one point, I set an alarm to do that at like 8 p.m. on like a Monday night.
Yeah.
So like, I think I said that maybe like months ago because like I just didn't want to forget. I felt like baked and was like, I'm gonna just fucking set an alarm for that.
The fuck, it's like September. You're like December 20th, cut nails.
But there have been times where because. Like I said, I'll like make sure my nails are clipped for the most part, just like making sure that you pay your car bill or making sure X, Y, or Z. But there have been times where that alarm will go off, and I forgot that it was set, and it would just happen to be it'll go off, and I'll look at my nails and be like, wow, I should cut these.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, that's my biggest self-pet peeve. I don't really look at other people's nails. I mean, I don't care.
But my own,
if my own nails are grown out past a certain point, I cannot stop thinking about it.
Dude, What I
All I think about is getting home and cutting them. That's like my main plan at the time.
it was never a thought in my head until I had my first girlfriend and she complained about that. Because obviously, like let's say if you're a woman, you don't want to get fingered by someone with fucking like a vampire nails,
Right.
You know. So
I think what got me, sorry to cut you off,
Yeah.
but I mean, I definitely heard it from girlfriends if I'd forget, in the past. But
Right.
it was like, it was before I even dated anyone. I think like 13, 14. I hadn't yet gone out with a girl, and someone just mentioned to me in class, just randomly, hey, you should cut your nails. And I
Right.
did. It's just one of those days that we were just saying where I'd let it go for an extra 3-4 days, and I forgot. And I showed up at school, and then someone actually said
pointed
something.
out like you got
Yeah.
stuff under your nails, like
Is there anything worse than when you got something you notice on yourself, and then you finally talk yourself out of it, and you're like, you know what? You're like,
it's not a big deal.
you're like, maybe it is just me noticing it. No one really notices this shit.
Someone calls
and
you
then
out.
someone says something about it 10 minutes later, and you're like, yep, they've been noticing it the whole time.
As you know, like I'm very like conscious about like how my breath smell, how my breath
You got a
smells, etc.
complex about this. So do I,
Yeah.
though.
So like I remember at distinct points in my life, there were like 2 times, one in like middle school and one around high school, I think, maybe like early college. I got called out on my breath, and that fucked me up. So like I always make sure I brush my teeth multiple times a day. I got mints, whatever, because like that's one thing that.
I think
When-
it's good, though. It's
Oh yeah, no, that's a
Besides-
good thing.
Unless
Yeah.
you're at the point of rubbing the enamel off your teeth, like you're brushing really hard and you do it like 5 times a day, it's just a good thing to have better
Oh, yeah.
dental health. Yeah, I think just my
It's
anxiety about
one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, same with smelling good. Just the thought of never wanting to smell. I mean, obviously, I know
You're
have,
human. Like if you get into some shit, you're gonna smell. you
Yeah,
know?
let's say like I know when I'm leaving the gym and I'm dripping after the sauna or a hard workout. Like I've smelled myself. It's not good.
Oh yeah.
But in just social situations, the feeling of smelling like asshole or just BO has always been such a horrible thought and anxiety driven event for me that I never let myself be in that situation.
No,
if I ever
God,
go
no.
out to a bar, the thought like that someone, which I know people do, do this type of activity out there, go to the gym and then go meet up with their friends for a beer. or something.
Fuck that. I gotta shower. I
Yeah,
gotta.
like, how can you go to the gym and then go out without showering? I don't understand that.
The only thing that okay, so me personally, some people like they'll sweat in area like humans are like different, the huge variety. So some people will like, let's say if they sweat, some people will sweat out their forehead. Some people sweat in their armpits, sweat in their butt. But one thing that never has gotten to be an issue with me is my feet never like sweat or stink. Oh, I guess they'll probably like sweat very minimally, but like my feet never fucking stink.
You're a straight up alien with that.
Dude, like look,
I've never met anyone who can wear socks more than once.
I can wear socks a couple of times a week.
I'm
Like,
sure you might be listening to this right now and be thinking that's utterly disgusting.
Oh,
But
yeah.
trust me, I've seen his socks. They stay unsweaty. Like if I walk around for 5 hours and I take my shoes off, like my feet are pretty soaked.
When have you ever smelt my fucking shoes or feet that they just smell?
Never. I've known you,
Yeah.
I've known you since middle school, before the
Like
elementary school.
kindergarten.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kindergarten, and I don't think I've ever smelled your feet.
Yeah, 'cause
But you're saying the gym thing though. While I agree in daily life, like maybe you skip a morning from taking a shower if you're not smelly.
oh
but
yeah, what I mean, look,
if you're doing any sort of real workout, I don't believe there's anyone out there who cannot smell unless they're not
Fuck no.
exerting themselves enough.
no, because like even if
Your skin just starts to perspirate a little bit. You get that funk to you when you smell it.
let's say I go to the gym and I work out, even if I don't smell directly after that, fuck, give me like 15 minutes to like an hour, like once that sweat just starts to stick with you, just like let's say you sweat in the middle of the night, you'll wake up and you'll
smell it.
You'll smell.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is that'll happen with me for every place but like my fucking feet. I've never smelt that shit.
Nah, yeah, that was always my my thing is like if I keep shoes too long or I don't keep up my feet cleanliness, like my feet just get rank.
I look like my
They're cool now because I got a process. You know, I double wash. You got to throw in foot powder occasionally. You got to switch out your shoes. Like, don't wear the same shoes every day.
but that's the norm.
That's a big thing. Yeah, like don't wear the same shoes every day.
Like if you can avoid it, obviously. But
Yeah,
like,
I mean, if you can afford more than one pair of shoes, please try to switch it.
But like me, where I like sweat the most is not my armpits in general, but my right one.
Yeah.
Like so many times, like we're not sponsored by this, but shout out to this product called Certain Dry. you fucking put that on like at night, and like for a couple of days later, like you just won't sweat out of your or wherever you apply it.
For all we know, we might grow a third arm at some point, but it works.
Yeah. No, like I don't know if like that's gonna cause like some sort of like weird like growth, in some years,
Right.
but.
Increase the ozone in your area.
Yeah. But that shit works. But like me personally, like I'll be like on a basketball court, walking around peeling an orange, and I'll fucking sweat out of my right armpit like no other. Where my left one will stay dry, but the right one, I'll lift my shirt up and it'll look like I fucking just ran a marathon. So I can consciously see that, and
grab a bunch of bananas at the grocery store and you start sweating out of your pit.
dude, I swear to fucking God, like anything will set me off. But that is a lot different.
Turn signal in the car and you're like, oof.
But that
a little bead dripping down me now.
That's for some reason like the way my body is. Like I'll sweat there, but I just won't sweat really through my feet. But at the end of the day, I would much rather have like my armpit be like drenched versus my feet smell.
You know what? I'm kind of an all over, like distributed, and I'm cool with that. Like,
you're human.
It makes things. No, yeah. Like I'm just saying, I prefer it to not having one thing, sweat ever, because then I would be thinking like, well, maybe I can skip a shower a little bit. Like I always just get overall, like after one day of not doing any sort of showering, especially if I work out, I always shower daily.
Oh yeah, like the only
in anyone who's listening, what's the norm out there? I mean, I've heard anything from some people back when I was younger, right? When we were going through, say, high school.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed very common when I would talk to fellow classmates, friends, colleagues, who would mention that I only shower at night. Right? Like, they would say I shower 9-10 p.m. and I wake up and just go straight to school. Like,
right.
I don't know if that was just a high school thing and people like start showering before work, but I don't know when people made that transition, because I personally never would feel awake and I always would shower in the mornings. So that was never a thing. How do you feel about that?
Back when
I want to hear though, if anyone hears this, please write in. If you shower every 4 days, I'd be fascinated to hear that.
So back in high school, I used to shower the night before.
Okay, yeah. So you seem like a common thing.
Oh yeah. Back in high school, I would always. Part of it was because I would have to wake up so early to catch the bus to school. But back in high school, I would always shower the night before. I wouldn't shower the morning of. It wasn't until I think probably after high school, where I started in college, where my classes would be a little later. And I had, that time in the morning to really shower. Because, look, it's not a big deal because it's only a couple hours, in the grand scheme of things, if you shower the night before. People do that all the time. Like, but me personally, I noticed that I probably still sweat the same amount like before, but I feel like around college I've noticed that, hey, I sweat a lot during the night. I might as well just fucking shower in the morning.
Yeah.
But, yeah, definitely, I've haven't just always showered, in the morning before shit, because like it makes sense, especially if you like have to get up early, like, and you don't like sweat a bunch during the night, shit like that. Yeah, it's cool if you shower at night, because
I do agree with that if you have to like say wake up and just leave the house immediately.
Right.
But in other cases, I feel like I move so much slower when I don't shower in the morning, that it sort of negates the time that I would save by not showering. So, say I have an hour. If I wake up, shower, and then start making breakfast, I feel alive. I feel...
It helps wake you up.
Right. I feel like I'm so sleepy. If I just get out of bed, then I'm just up for the day, that I don't have that transitionary period. Sorry if there's any liquid noise.
Yeah. No,
We're pouring up the drinks. Or
Yeah. We
Saturday night podcast.
We started this podcast out with some drinks, and I just re-upped on a little bit, so don't mind the cracks and the bubbles and shit like that.
Drunk mix on
Yeah,
the
fuck
chamber
up.
this week.
Why not? We're doing it live. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it live. So, you know what, before we close out this podcast, while we're on the topic of showering, I just need to say something. Anyone out there who's showering, especially known in game conventions or just people in college, I see it on Reddit, like this guy in class just reeks. Just shower. Please stop it. It's rude to people around you. I don't care if you got this thing in your head where you somehow think
I don't need to shower.
Right, or you think it's a waste of time. I've heard that. Like, people think it's inefficiency. Like, oh, why would I waste, time showering when I can just hang out?
Do X, Y, or Z.
It's rude, it smells bad, and it makes people think badly of you.
Yeah.
Like, just try it out. I saw they even have, we talked about it a few episodes back, they have the Microsoft-sponsored Axe body wash. And I think that was in hopes to get some of these people who attend these game conventions and tournaments to actually take a shower.
One thing that let's clear the air on it. I understand because I've been in situations before. It's like if you're let's say in some sort of like depressive episode and you can't even like you just don't care about taking care of yourself. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not talking about where you can't find the will to shower, shit like that. That's a whole nother ball game. What just like you mentioned, what I'm talking about
like Johnny Cosplay who shows up at E3
who just doesn't give a fuck. It's like I don't need to shower. It's like, dude, like, come the fuck on.
What type of psychopath is in a hotel room with like a nice shower and soaps provided and they just go to a convention or like a tournament that they're in town for, and they don't even utilize the shower? That right there is insane to me.
I remember back in high school, I'm not going to say his name, but there was a friend of mine who he would tell me that even like back in high school, elementary school, I understood, hey, I have to brush my teeth in the morning. You just have to.
Wasn't it weird? Sorry to cut you off again, but just understanding what deodorant was the first time. Like, I remember it was like 4th grade, and the class seemed different at the beginning, and the teacher's like, it was Mrs. D. It was like, was it
Desjardins.
Desjardins.
Shout out to Miss Desjardins.
Yeah, shout out to Miss Desjardins. She was our 5th grade teacher.
She would like randomly teach. She got switched to classes, but she was like that 5th grade area.
Right, and I remember one class, and looking back on it, maybe it was even me, but someone in the class probably started smelling real bad because it was probably getting warmer outside, playing outside on recess because we'd run around. And she kicked off the class by pulling out like a little like goodie bag that she gave out to everyone that had like a little mini deodorant. And I
remember getting back in like that like era, like I mean everyone got it, but I remember getting, because it makes sense. But I got like a mini thing of like deodorant because like it was probably just like you said, there was probably one of those things where like one kid in the class like they smelled of BO, but they weren't.
Pull them aside.
Yeah, exactly, and they weren't up on the game because look, you're in like middle school. Like some people hit puberty at a different age. Some people start like their sweat starts to stink at a different age.
You know what? More power to her for not saying anything to one person.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because if it was me, or if I was the kid if I got pulled aside, I already wasn't confident at that age. I would have been devastated.
And plus, like,
I did not have anywhere near the level of confidence I do as an adult.
Being at that age, honestly, at that point, like, as a teacher, she was probably more so worried about the other kids ragging on you versus you just caring about how you smell. Yeah. Because at that age...
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't really, like, killing her necessarily in terms of smell.
Because, like, at that age, you understand that this kid, they're still a kid. They probably don't care. But you don't want to like single that kid out and make them an easy target for the other ruthless kids to be able to rag on you for some shit that is easily preventable. Because look, kids are fucking like horrible, but like kids are kids. Like if some kid has a limp or some kid has something weird going on, like it's an easy target. Kid has glasses. Whereas I
had it all. I had glasses. I was skinny fat.
Unpreventable shit, Yeah. Whereas like
my kneecaps are weird.
If you smell like, unless if you have some sort of like crazy disease, that's preventable by just showering and using deodorant.
Do you know what stands out from that memory to me though that still makes me laugh to this day? So our teacher, Mrs. D, she takes the deodorant. She puts it on, fake, swipes it under both her armpits, and is like, so you want to do like 3 or 4
Right.
stripes? And then she's like, also, she's like, if you're someone like me who sweats a lot, like, why do you have to include this for the first Dio intro? But I still appreciate the knowledge.
Right.
She's like, and if you get real sweaty, she's like, you also can put it on your lower back. And she's like, I do
Yeah.
that. And I was like, well, thanks for telling us.
Yeah, see, I mean, at the
I
time,
honestly never do that now, and now that I think of like this shit in deodorant, I would like not purposely swipe it all over my like kidneys and shit in the back, but
I think so.
I get it.
In my career of using deodorant, I've like 99.999% of the time have just put it on my armpits, but I feel like at one point, like when I was like in middle school, I was like sweating by my balls, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put some deodorant there, see if it does anything. I guarantee, I'm pretty sure I did that once, and I mean, like it didn't make any sort of like difference, But
I'm sure it worked. It probably
I'm sure people do that all the fucking time, though.
Yeah, you just got to be careful what you're putting down there, especially like I know like Manscaped, that seems like a new company that's been going around,
Yep.
seems to sponsor a lot of podcasts. They, for example, have like some sort of deodorizing ball powder.
Which, yeah, no, I'm not shocked about.
Yeah, like which makes sense.
My fucking balls sweat.
Right, because I mean, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast, I use foot powder every once in a while if it's gonna be a real hot day and I'm walking around, just to keep the feet cool.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And it's the same idea. It's just instead of using like a gel or something sticky, it's just like a light powder to keep things cool.
See, as let's say as a kid, that's something where only because you're not experienced it, I feel like as a kid, just in general, it's easier to be on the attack versus defense. Like as a kid, in terms of like navigating through like school peer pressure and your school like mindset.
Because you don't have any knowledge, you don't have any backup, you can't you don't have any good burns at that age for the most part, unless you're naturally funny, like born as like a jokester for some reason. So you, like you said, it's hard to sort of back yourself up and have self-confidence with all the knowledge of the world at that age, because you're kind of stumbling through it. So any sort of attack is much easier on someone else to
Oh yeah.
So at that age, it's all like survival.
That's like the MO of most bullies around that age too, because it's like not every bully obviously, but a lot of bullies, they will attack other people because they're
bullied.
Oh yeah, because like they see, okay, if I exploit this weakness in person X, it'll be less likely for everyone else to see the weakness in me. So that's why I mean, even as a
I think
kid,
it's really tribal in a way. Like as much as it ties into like maybe this kid is bullied and whatever. I think it just comes down to at that age we don't really know what we're like. Like I'm hurting Timmy's feelings by calling him this. I think it's as simple
About
as
themselves.
you just said. If I make this person who I don't really know or care about, like if I say this shit, other people seem to laugh and think higher of me, so I push up my ranking in the group. I think it's really just almost like orangutans trying to gain dominance at that age, because we don't have this deeper thought of, where do I fall into society? What are my goals in life? You're just a kid. So you just start to think like, what is my ranking in this classroom? What is my ranking between my friends?
in terms of like parenting, besides like the obvious shit, I feel like the best thing you can do and again, this is someone who does not have kids. I feel like the best thing that you could do for your kid is to install a strong sense of confidence
Agreed.
in your kid, because that's like in terms, because like you can't really, let's say if your kid's getting bullied, you can't exactly tell them exactly what burns to come back with or X, Y, or Z. But
Plus, you never know what is going to stick for someone's own personality.
right. But what you can do is install a strong sense of confidence in your kid to be able to have them. It's like the difference between that old saying, give someone a fish, feed them a day, teach them how to fish, keep them fed forever. It's like if you install confidence in your kid, they'll carry that for the rest of their life. So if you have them be confident and be able to defend bullies naturally in that way
Right,
as a
even if
kid.
it's not physically, it's just like, don't talk to me like that. Just like a strong... Like,
Exactly.
I know
It's
who
like
I am.
get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
don't take that shit.
Like, if you can install it in your kid, that'll set them way apart.
Yeah.
Because, like, let's say you're in, like, a middle school and a bully comes up to your kid and your kid is able to, be confident in themselves, be like, dude, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
That bully will see, okay, well, hey, this is not an easy target. Let me go move on to the next one.
Right.
So I feel like in terms of what you can do for your kid, that's probably the best.
Agreed. All right, should we wrap this up?
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah.
fun. That was fun. We got some UFC fights to watch. I got
Food's coming
Yeah,
soon.
some food. So
Yeah, we're about to get on Postmates or Uber Eats or something here.
yeah.
Get into some debauchery for the man.
But it was fun though. Fun
Yes.
though.
Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Follow us on TCOC Podcast on Twitter. Catch you later, guys.